Morning, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, my followers on YouTube, and all you newcomers. I hope you enjoy small ship build. This morning we laced or sewed the first big sail on to the four-mast yard arm, and I had it rolled up, but I really couldn't get to the tail end here, so I had to unroll it so I could get to the tail end and hook that tail end to the spots it's supposed to go to. We went down here, and that's just one upside down loop knot on there now, and I'm just wrapped around that one anchor point down there through this divot, and I got to do the other side, but I got a couple of loops on here to hold it in the rolled up position. And once I got all my tails tied and in their location, I use this dowel here to stick in there and roll it up. And then clamped it with the big tweezers and put these temporary ties on here to loop hold it. So we got the first set of pulley ties that go to the yard arm tied off to the middle, and then through that double pulley down to the bolo pin on both sides. So that takes care of the steering of this yard arm from right to left. And then these two here, which I haven't tied off yet, are for the tail of the sail, the bottom part of the sail, so they can control that on both sides whenever they lower the sail. So we got this detail here with the lower part of the tail, and that's the ones we're just looking at. They tie off to the center of the ship and to the divot pulley in the front, and then that other tie off point for 47 there. 446 is here, both sides. So that takes care of the, see, there's two ropes in each corner of the sail, one going to the divot and one going to the anchor point. And then the other detail we worked on here is controlling the actual yard arm itself through them long pulleys that are already pre-installed on the yard arm, and they go down through that main loop rope that's tied off, the big one, through a pulley and then down to its tie point. And I think there's one more detail like this for the bottom sail. And I'm going to go ahead and tie these off. So my real dilemma now is whether or not I want to leave the sail up like it is, or let it down. And the picture on the box, I got it sort of scrunchy rolled up. I guess that's more natural how they'd roll it up, and they did the same with the main mast. So I may do that I don't know what they did with the back mast. Almost doesn't even look like the yard arm's on there, does it? Interesting. So because it's up like this, you can see more of what's down there on the ship. So I may leave it like that, and because the way it is now, if we let it down, we're going to need more rope over here to take up, take up slack on both sides, and the same with the divot tie off point. We'll have to pull out more slack on that. So I think for now we'll leave it rolled up. Maybe you should give me a comment before we get to the next sail. We're gonna sew on. These are the other two yard arms for the foremast. We got to sew on the sail ahead of time like we did here. That white thread, it's got that thing sewed on to the bottom side, and then we got it tied off in the middle. You can see there little bearings. So leave a comment what you think. Should leave it up or down. In the meantime, I'm going to tie it off and start sewing these other sails here. Okay, so there was two more on each side just for this first main yard arm. We got one here, goes up, ties off, and then the other end goes through the pulley down to the bolo pin there in the front. And then the same thing on the other side. Tie off, come down here to the small pulley, up to the bigger one, and then down again to there. And then the one we were wondering if we'd missed or not is tied off here. And it goes through the pulley there, and then down the back side and ties off to the bolo pins on the side there. We got one over here and one over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that's my daughter's dog we're babysitting. Rex and Kiwi, they got a miniature pinscher and a medium pinscher Dobermans. So back to this, we're like 10 different tie-offs just for this one yard arm. So let's see here, that takes care of these. 1, 2, going through and down. And these 3, 4, 5, 6, because they're going to two different directions off each corner. And then up here 7 and 8 coming down, tying off. And then up here 9 and 10 and that's for all three masts. So the front mast is going to be 429. I'm assuming the middle and the mizzen mast, the rear one, would be the other two numbers. But that gets from the top of the yard arm up and then tie off point. So all those tie off points are marked up here, and that's probably going to be a constant for all the rest of the yard arms. We're looking at 10 tie off points, and you know, probably more than 10 pulleys. I would say 14, maybe even more, 16 pulleys that we're going through, because some of them are 2 for one rope. So we'll have that same thing on the next yard arm up. And I was gonna start sewing the next yard arm with the sail on it, but I looked at the prints and said, oh man, I got 2 more. And then I got 2 more again, so we ended up with 10 altogether. But we got that one done. Whether or not we're gonna let it lower down or not is another question for later on. I sort of like it up because then you can see everything down here, which once you lower it, it's going to block all that view from this angle. I don't know, we'll see when we get further along, but making progress. We got one yard arm done, one of the bigger ones, the foremast. Now that we got all those details that we thought we had and we've missed, now it's time to tie on the next sail here. That's the top. This is the middle. And let's see here. The middle will be next. Sail number 336. There it is right there. Yep, 336 will be the next one up. That'll go up here. And it'll tie on this yard arm. Something like that, I think. The foot rope's on the bottom. So when the sailors are standing on these foot ropes and out here on the end of the yard arms, they can work on whatever their job is, have something to stand on. You can see the foot ropes here. Now that's a detail I didn't think about. Was I'm assuming a lot of the movies and videos I watched, that foot rope was on this side, and we may have sewn this on there when the foot rope is on the wrong side. Probably did. Yep, it looks like the foot rope's on the back, because I don't see it here in the front, but we'll try to make sure the rest of them get done right. That's sort of a nice detail though, even though it's in the wrong side. There's more stuff to look at. All right, now we're all sewed up here on the 337, which is going to be the last one on the foremast. And I'm working on the one underneath it right now before I mount this one. I got like 10 ropes to do, so I'm gonna get a pulley on each end. This one's already got one there. It looks like we're missing one here. But I'm missing one here too, so I'm gonna have to tie another pulley. Oh, we got one there. We were missing one over here. Okay. Anyway, I just ran this, and it's tied off up here, goes down through the pulley, comes back up through this pulley, and then down to this perspective tie-off point, which I'm not sure where that's at yet. But what I'm going to do before I tie that off is I'm going to take this and go back up again and loop through all this stuff. That way I'm only tying it off down there one time. Then we got the tails over here to work on, and then these two tails to work on, which is like this. And then we'll decide whether or not we want to roll it up. It definitely looks a little better rolled up. We'll see. So I'm going to get to it with this thread going down and back up. Get this tied off. One rope at a time. Those two. And then we got these two. And then we got these two. So this detail is on the back of all the tie points detail. Most of the stuff here has been finished with doing the dead eyes, and then all the middle sails we did. That's a in view, the ladder rope, rat lines. This is not done, I don't think. Because we got a pulley here that's not done, and there's another one on top that goes up and back. We were wondering about that earlier, but now we're looking at other details. I found these two. This is the top yard arm, the middle one, and the bottom one. So there's quite a bit here to raise and lower that yard arm. Some ships you see in port just have the masts up and there's no yard arms on there. And we got these two double blocks here on each side, and then there's two more smaller double blocks that go to a pin and then come down and go up to this and then down to the bottom. The more I install these ropes, and we got this second yard arm done, except for that stuff there in the top in the middle. but we got all the tie points that were sort of like the bottom one here. But the more I bring these ropes down to the bolo pins, the harder it gets to get in there and tie off another line to the bolo pin, because there's more and more lines in the way as we progress. So it's getting harder and harder. You can see over here in the middle mast, there's nothing on the bolo pins yet, nothing in the way except the ratline rope ladder. But up here in the front where we've been working, it's starting to get like a traffic jam. And when I do bring something down to a bolo pin, use the tweezers to get it up under there and hook it around the pin, and then try to bring it back out and wrap it around the top of the pin with all this stuff in the way, and one tweezer in each hand. It's getting really tough with all this stuff in the way. So took me a half an hour just to get 2 sets here, one tie on both sides all the way run. It starts here, goes up the tail, goes through a double block there, then through another double block there, and then down to the bolo pins. And it does that on both sides, so a double block takes care of both sides. But it's quite a bit of traffic down here now. That's where it's getting tough. So I'm going to try to do these before I get too much further on. I've got this last sail ready to go on. But before I bring all them ropes down, I think I need to try to get this stuff here done. And the same with that. Not going to be easy because there's so much stuff in there now. But we want to try to follow as much detail as we can. And that's where we're at. We got the ones there I just showed you on both sides, so it duplicates over here what that is. And we got these two here that come down 444, tie off. These tails tie off here. And we got them two for that second yard arm up. But now we need to finish this stuff in the middle. Which is on the back of this. I haven't looked at it enough because the back of this has got things that we're missing right now before we go too much further. Yep, there's that other one catching that rear. So we're going to try to do that and finish this up in the back. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 just in the back here that we don't have done yet. Yep, there's the one of the tie-off blocks. And there's one there. One here. So Plugging away. Okay, now we finished the tie offs for this one. You can see up under there. Got that big double block and a single tied off to the loop and goes down to the bolo pin. Got the same here. Got pulleys up there going down, back up, and then down to the bolo pin through this line here. I just got that glued there. Let that dry with a counterweight on it, and then I'll cut the tail. And we got the last sail installed on the first front mast, and we got to do all the tie-off ropes on it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the middle, maybe 8. But as you can see, I have to use these longer tweezers just to be able to get in there and help hold while I reach in from the other side and loop it around the bolo pin or whatever, because of the way this is filling up, it's really hard to reach in there and get a tie off on the bolo pin. So we're having fun doing that. Well, that takes care of the top one. Yeah, I got to do that. But these two for the front mast are done. This is the middle mast and the rear mast, these two here. And the same over here, we got this done. Tied off down to the bottom to 420 on both sides. So we got 420 and 421. This one we got to do 422. So 420 and 421. See how 420 is on both sides, because there's another line coming down from each double block. And then 421 is here. And then 422 is going to be the last one. 431 we're missing, and 447. 447 there, 447 there. I wonder where that's at. Oh, there it is, 447. Yeah, that's already done, 447. Yeah, we started to highlight the outside of it. Now 431 is probably something to do with the top sail yard arm. I'll have to look for that and see. But it's looking pretty good. To the end of today, we'll have this one done, I hope, and then we'll start on the main mast, the large yard arm next. If we haven't missed something, oh, we still got to come over here and do these little details that we haven't done yet. I'm seeing some stress on there. Oh, yeah, we got a broken block. That's why it's loose. I've been taking this and spinning it around. I've probably spun it around 6 or 7 times just in the last half hour. And When I do that, I'm probably hitting that back there and knock that one loose. So we'll fix it though. Really awkward with one hand. Well, good sense of accomplishment. Everything here over is yellowed off and done. I think these are for the middle mast. We'll find out when we get to that. But all the stuff that goes to the top sail there on that forward mast is done. Through these prints 3 or 4 times. Got that done. So I think it's about time for the main mast lower yard arm. So you can see here we got the upper yard arm on the foremast all tied off. Little tails down here. All that goes down. A lot of traffic heading down to those bolo pins. But I think this whole front section here, from here forward, is done. We got to put the flag on and some of them little people up in there. But yeah, there's 2 flags here, and this I think goes in the back. I gotta see where that goes. That looks like it goes on the bow or something, don't it? It probably doesn't go back here, but it might. I think that's a decal. That's going to be interesting. So time for this bad boy. Main mast, main yard arm. There we go, sail number 431. Probably gonna be one of these big ones. $342. 341. Did I dyslexic that or what? 341. 341. So that's the big boy. .342 is probably the back one. So we got to rig that up, sew it on there, and get all the tails ready for install. But it's looking good, ain't it? Looking good. Okay, not bad for a week's worth of work here. 454, 455, 454 and 455 on both sides of the ship. 453 is done. And that's the sail number. 453 on both sides. 454, 455. 455. That's 454 on both sides there. And then this is the one you just saw me do. Speed up time. It's 488, and that's on both sides. That's the other one. So 488 is here. So that's 488 there on both sides, going through this pulley to the tail, pre-installed, back to a tie-off point. Got that done on both sides, and we got this upper support going down to the middle, tied off there. Then we got this tail of the sail, which is the bottom part of the sail. 454 and 455. It's down in there. That's so they can pull the sail. If the whole sail yard arm is turned at an angle from the perpendicular position on the mast, they can pull it, the sail, over to this way or to this way, depending on which way the wind is coming from. That gives them control on both sides. I think these are probably for lifting. No, these ones here in the middle are for lifting the yard arm up. We got all them ropes tied off and down to their pins. So this one is done. And of course we did the other three this week in the front mast, and we got this one done in the middle mast. There's a little more room for tying off stuff in the middle mast. It's not near as hard to get into those bolo pins and do that upside down loop knot like there was up here. It's terrible up here, you could barely get in there. So tomorrow is Saturday. I might get another yard arm done tomorrow. I don't know. I think I'm gonna smoke a chicken tomorrow in the smoker. And while that's smoking, I might be able to get this sail sewn up there for $342. That can't be right, can it? Maybe it is right. Fits on there. I would have thought, well, yeah, this front one's pretty big too, and the second one up, I would have thought it would have been smaller. But yeah, that's the middle of the ship, so. What, are we missing one here? We gotta do some checking. Seems like we're missing one. Should be 3 in the back, 3 in the middle. That should be 5. 3 and 2 is 5, and I only got 4. I'm gonna be checking here. Yeah, I'm looking in the prints here after I looked at all my sails, see if I lost one in the shed somewhere. But it's showing in the back, the mezzanine mast, only 2 sails. The bottom one isn't there. It's just these 2. That's what I got here. That'll finish the middle. So there is no sail on the bottom yard arm and the mezzanine mast. And when I look at that, it doesn't look like there's one there either. Just the yard arm is on there, but no sail. So that's the way the kit. That's the way the kit came. No sail on the rear lower yard arm. Well, at least I didn't lose it. Thanks for watching.